members of media houses, and greetings to everyone. And this is Pastor Mukuba of SA Church Defenders, and I'm here with, on my right, Reverend Stole, on my left, Mr. Masipani, and far left, it is Pastor Masunyaning, and all of us, we are from SA Church Defenders. Today here, the South African Church Defenders, SACD, wishes to clearly explain its position on the CRL Commission's draft self-regulatory framework for churches, released on 19 December 2025, and to confirm why SACD has taken legal action against the Commission. SACD has filed a case in the Gauteng High Court, Johannesburg, challenging the lawfulness of the Section 22 Committee established by the CRL Rights Commission. This case is not about resisting accountability or protecting wrongdoing. It is about defending constitutional democracy, the rule of law, and the fundamental right to freedom of religion. In fact, SACD is against all forms of criminality. We do not support any form of criminality, and we reiterate our position that let all those who are criminals be dealt with by the law. The relief sought by SACD includes a declaration that the creation of the Section 22 Committee was unlawful, that all its actions are invalid, and that the committee must be disbanded. SACD is also challenging the CRL Commission's confirmation to state security that labeled charismatic churches as a domestic threat. Above all, SACD seeks to ensure that the constitutional rights of religious communities under Section 15, 18, and 31 of the Constitution are protected. SACD is deeply concerned about false and misleading statements made by the chairperson of the CRL Rights Commission during a recent media briefing regarding SACD's position and the court case. These statements are untrue and have caused confusion and unnecessary tension within religious communities. Such conduct is dangerous, particularly when it comes from a person entrusted with protecting freedom of religion. With regard to the draft self-regulatory framework, SACD believes that any rules developed by or enforced through the CRL Rights Commission exceed its constitutional and statutory mandate. Although the framework is presented as voluntary and by churches for churches, it was drafted by a Section 22 committee appointed by the Commission for the Commission and under a Chapter 9 institution. In substance, it amounts to state-driven regulation of religion through indirect means. The CRL's claims of desiring self-regulation are expressly refuted by clause 2.3 of their own draft framework, which proposes legislation to establish a state-appointed, state-funded, and state-controlled quasi-judicial body that will have unspecified but broad powers to regulate the religious sector. This reveals their clear intention to impose a system of state regulation of religion. The role of the CRL Rights Commission is to protect and promote the rights of religious communities, not to control how churches govern themselves. A Section 22 committee exists only to advise, conduct research, and consult. It has no authority to legislate, enforce rules, or regulate religious institutions. However, the draft framework attempts to dictate how churches should organize themselves, appoint leaders, manage finances, and govern their internal affairs. This directly contradicts the Constitution. Section 15 guarantees freedom of religion, belief, and conscience. Churches must be free to worship, teach, discipline, and govern themselves without state interference. Section 18 protects freedom of association. Churches are voluntary communities of faith and cannot be forced into structures or councils that they did not choose. Section 31 protects the collective rights of religious communities to practice their faith together and to maintain their institutions. The framework also violates the principle of equality in Section 9 of the Constitution by singling out churches for special regulatory treatment not imposed on other civil society organizations. This selective targeting is unfair and it is unconstitutional. Although described as voluntary, the framework introduces registration requirements, accreditation standards, and so-called seal of good standing. In practice, churches without such a seal may be marginalized or pressured to comply. This creates indirect force and undermines genuine religious freedom. The framework further paints churches as morally suspect or inherently dangerous. This narrative is misleading. Where criminal conduct occurs, South African law already provides adequate remedies. Crimes such as fraud, assault, sexual abuse, child abuse, and financial misconduct are dealt with by the police and the courts. There is no justification for imposing an additional regulatory regime on religious communities. At the heart of this matter is a deeper concern about abuse of power. We are concerned about officials who do not respect their constitutional mandate, who disregard the Constitution, and who seek to interfere in sacred matters. South Africa must never become a country where state decides who may hear from God, who may start a church, or how faith may be practiced. We reject any attempt by the state to regulate spiritual callings or place itself above God. Matters of faith are beyond human control. While we fully respect the Constitution and the just enforcement of the rule of law, we are accountable to the Lord, not to political authorities in matters of doctrine and calling. We are also concerned about the divisions being created within Christian communities, where pastors are portrayed as separate from their congregants or labeled as delinquents. Churches are communities built on love, trust, and mutual accountability. The wrongdoing of a few cannot justify branding an entire faith community as problematic. SACD is defending the faith as believers are called to do so. At the same time, SACD supports education, transparency, and accountability. Belonging to a religious community is a personal choice, and people must be empowered to know and protect their rights. Corruption must never be allowed to replace holiness, nor should any human attempt to rule in God's domain. International examples should also serve as a warning. In countries such as Rwanda, Angola, Russia, and China, increased state control has led to the closures of churches and suffering among believers. South Africa must not follow the same path. We therefore reject the proposed regulations in any form. Churches must be allowed to govern themselves. Law enforcement must focus on real criminal conduct. The CRL Rise Commission should work within its mandate and cooperate with existing institutions, not to overstep its powers. It's not supposed to overstep its powers. In summary, SACD's court case seeks to stop unlawful and unconstitutional actions by the CRL Rise Commission. Our objective is to protect the rights of churches and to ensure that religious freedom remains real, meaningful, and protected in South Africa. Churches must remain free to practice their faith, govern themselves, and operate without state interference. That is the stand of the SA Church Defenders. That is the stand in short. Okay. Over to you, Mr. Monsignor.
Greetings to the members of the media. Greetings to the chairperson of South African Church Defenders. Greetings to Apostle Mlambo, Reverend Sitole, Mr. Matsipani. Now we will open for questions for the members of the media. If there are any questions from the members of the media now, we are opening for those questions. All right, can we have another mic? We have a question from Newsroom. Newsroom Africa.
Thank you, Juliet Joseph from Newsroom Africa. You did say yourself that the CRL Rights Commission, one of its mandates is to protect religious groups, and for them to formulate an ad hoc committee like Section 22, wouldn't that be them perhaps, enforcing that mandate?
All right. I will believe that the chairperson of the South African Church Defenders will answer that question shortly. Then we are also opening for other Questions?
The CRL Rights Commission, yes, is supposed to protect and to promote religious communities. That is their mandate. Now, forming the Section 22 committee and coming up with this legislative framework, this proposed document that we have right now. This talks about legislation. It goes beyond their mandate. They are not given the right to police. They are given the mandate to promote religious communities, cultural communities, linguistic rights. But what they are proposing now is interfering with constitutional rights. Because this which they are proposing now brings a law that will sort of take away the rights of religious communities. Because we have got freedom of association, but now we are going to be forced to belong to somebody. You are being forced to belong there, and you are going to be policed. You are forced to register. Right now, registering a church is sort of voluntary. It is not mandatory. And that enables the church to can do its work of the Great Commission, because when there is this forced registrations and belonging to certain bodies, then it limits the work of the church. It limits the work of the church because we have got churches that are operating in rural areas, churches that are small, churches that cannot afford all the things that are being proposed here. And such churches risk being called illegal. They risk being closed down. This will affect quite a lot of people if this becomes a law. And when you are talking about a law, there is no more freedom there. There is no more freedom. And that is not the mandate of the CRL to come up with these laws. The CRL has got that right to can educate people on what their rights are. And they do have that right to can work with different institutions like Human Rights Commission, like your SARS, like your Home Affairs, and also with the courts and the police in order to deal with whatever criminality that is happening in the church. Because there is no crime that is specific to the church. There is no crime that is like a pastoral crime and a crime by somebody who is outside the church. A crime remains a crime. All of us, we are crying about the state of things in South Africa, not just in the church. So we are saying there, if really we are acknowledging that we have got a problem of law enforcement in South Africa, let all of us, including the CRL, raise these issues with the institutions that are competent to can deal with these crimes and all these issues that we are crying about. Because all of us, it saddens us to see what is going on in our nation. I hope that answers it.
All right. We are also going to open up for MNDTV. They have submitted their questions. The first question is process clarity. Number one, can you explain SACD's main concerns about how the CRL Sections 22 ad hoc committee was formed and why this process matters? Then the other question is regarding the court-related clarification. SACD has said there was misinformation regarding an ongoing court matter, what specially needs to be clarified for the public record. Number 3, church representation. Why does SACD believe the draft framework does not adequately reflect the diversity of churches and faith communities in South Africa? The last one, constructive alternatives. What approach does the SACD support to address abuse or misconduct in religious spaces without infringing on religious freedom? We will allow the chair to answer those following questions.
Okay, can you forward them to me? All right, thank you. Okay. Main concerns about how the CRL Section 22 ad hoc committee was formed and why this process matters, and then constitutional issues from SACD's perspective, which constitutional principles are affected by the draft self-regulatory framework. I believe that number 1 goes into legal arguments. So that one, I'm sorry, that one I will not go deep into it because it goes into the merits and demerits of our case, and the constitutional issues that are raised are the ones that I read from the statement here. The Constitution guarantees our freedoms to worship, freedom of religion, belief, and conscience. Churches must be free to worship, teach, discipline, and govern themselves without state interference. And this framework that is proposed now by the CRL, it takes that away. It is taking away that right that is enshrined in our Constitution, in our Bill of Rights. And Section 18 protects freedom of association. It protects freedom of association, but this framework now will put people under certain bodies. You are now forced to associate even when you don't want to associate. So that freedom is taken away. It is no longer a voluntary thing. It is no longer a voluntary thing. It is now a forced thing. Once this law, if there is a law that is passed, because the chairperson of the CRL is going towards having this law, the law. She has been talking about this from the beginning, even from as early as around 2015, 2016. She has been saying that we don't have enough powers right now to can control. We don't know about this control, what is it about? But she has been saying it that they are galloping towards having this legislative framework. So this takes away freedom of association. We don't want to be forced to associate where we don't want to associate. And another thing, this council is like forced on the religious communities. And Section 31 protects the collective rights of religious communities to practice their faith together and to maintain their institution. What is proposed here, when we look at it, it is interference with how churches are run, how churches are supposed to be governed. It is interference in matters of spirituality, which raises a serious concern there. Really, who qualifies really to govern over spiritual matters? Who are we going to hear from here? Are we going to hear from God, or are we going to hear from this council that is proposed? Who qualifies to sit on that seat to say that this one we can license, this one qualifies, this one does not qualify? This is really infringement of our rights, and it is violation of our rights. And we are asked a question. We are asked a question to say that, what is it that you are afraid of? We are concerned when people do not respect these rights, which are guaranteed by our constitution. When they want to violate us, you know that question, it takes you back to the issue of manipulation, bullying, something like that. Because where a person wants to violate your rights, and they go and they say, why are you refusing? What are you hiding? Hey, it just sounds somehow. The thing is there, what is proposed here takes away our freedoms, and we will reiterate that between God and man, it should be God who should be head. That is what we are going to reiterate continually. And the church has been self-governing. When it comes to alternatives, the church has been self-governing for the past more than 2,000 years. The church has been self-governing. Churches have got structures, and there are church organizations where churches belong. There are fraternals who are dealing with issues that arise there in the churches. And those structures that are in churches, they are dealing with the regulation of their churches. As the chairperson of the CRL speaks about the recommendation of the portfolio committee, which happened some years ago, they recommended a voluntary self-regulation. What we are talking about now is not voluntary self-regulation, though she wants to label it as voluntary. It is not voluntary. Why? When you come with legislative framework, you are now coming with a law that will affect everybody who is in religious institutions. You are no longer talking about a voluntary process. And anyway, I must point out that even the recommendation, the report of the recommendation that she keeps on referring to, that one lapsed a long time ago. But let me go back to it to say that churches have been self-regulating, and what I would say is that let the CRL work with existing structures in order to deal with all the abusers, the criminal conduct of whoever is involved. And they think their laws are not adequate. It raises this question that if you are saying there, or you are saying that law enforcement is not adequate, how do you put that burden on the church? Because really, if we have got all these existing laws and the enforcement is a problem, adding more laws, how will that solve the problem? Because you are adding more problems. You are adding more problems. Let the CRL work with the existing structures, the laws of the country. You have got people who are competent to carry them out and to enforce them. Let them work with SAPS. Let them work with Home Affairs. Let them work with the courts. Let them work with human rights, all these that are established, instead of wanting to introduce something that will only apply to the churches. And with the churches, let the churches report all forms of criminality, because that is all that we can do. I mean, if a rape occurs in the church, what is it that we are supposed to do? We are supposed to call the police. The police are supposed to deal with that rape. That is what is supposed to happen. And let communities be continually educated on what to do and on what is criminal, what is abuse, so that they can be able to protect themselves. I think I've covered them all there.
All right. I don't know if there are still any other more questions, but there is also this question: what's SACD's view with the composition of the Section 22 committee? Does it represent the broader church or the church as a whole?
That is what we are told, that it represents the majority of Christians in the church, and I think it's 40-something million that is spoken about, and we are still waiting for evidence to prove that is the truth.
I believe that those are the questions. Any more other questions? All right. There are no more additional questions. I will just open the floor for about 2 to 3 minutes to Apostle Mlambo, and also 2 to 3 minutes to Reverend Sitole to speak on this matter that is affecting the church and the regulation of the church, and what they think about the framework, the draft framework of the CRL that was issued on the 19th of December. To Apostle Mlambo.
Let me greet all the members of the media, our president, Pastor Mukuba, and delegates on the table here. I greet you all in the wonderful name of our Lord Jesus Christ. And when we look at our constitution, on the chapter 9 institution that was established by the government of South Africa, in order to help with the ensuring that everyone in the country have a fair treatment with regard to the faith. When we come back from the apartheid government, where the church was not regulated, but the dominant faith by then, it was Christians, which we commend the government and the people who were making constitution in this regard to say everyone have, as I say, the CRL Right Commission Act Act 19 of 2002. And then when you read the mandate of the CRL is to promote, to protect the rights of cultural, religious, and linguistic communities, to promote respect, equality, and peaceful coexistence among these communities. When you go through those, just the mandate that I read, we believe that CRL with setting up the Section 22, it's actually violating the rights of having a free and fair association and belief in South Africa, and also you can see that she wants to weaponize it against Christianity in particular. And things that CRL can do and cannot do is that they can investigate abuse or criminal conducts. But as a commission, they have no right to arrest. They have no right to issue sentences, because we have the law in our country. We have the bodies that are regulating the law and safety of our people. And then CRL cannot, according to the Constitution, I'm taking this according to the Constitution, what CRL cannot do is that it does not have authority to regulate doctrine and theology or belief. It doesn't have that right, which the commissioner wants to do now. It cannot license churches and pastors or religious practice. And we see that commissioner is actually doing the overreach there, because she's not supposed to do that. It cannot interfere with the freedom of religion as protected under Section 15 of the Constitution. You see, once this Section 22 operates, it's actually violate our right that is tabled on Section 18, because we have a right of we have a freedom of religion, belief, even opinion. CRL has to protect and promote any religion, every religion in South Africa, however taboo it is. If a person believes drinking the blood or whatever, CRL Commission is mandated to protect and to promote and to defend that faith. But in this regard, CRL is wanting to regulate the churches. They want to control the churches. They want to license pastors. In one quotation, she said, it will not even matter if you have your doctorate, even if you have your bachelor degree or diploma in theology. She says they will have their own criteria to vet the pastors and those people who want to be pastors. And when we look at what Rwanda requires for the pastors, for the church to be regulated, it is very scary. Because why I'm quoting Rwanda is that she says they have to look at the global standards, how other countries are regulating churches. And it is very dangerous. It is very dangerous. Amongst the things, that means you will have to have money. You will have to have a structure already built to start a church. And that is not in accordance to our constitution as South Africans. And we say no to the regulation and control of the churches. We say no to the control of the pastors. And I'm calling out the church, everyone who is the church, because South African Church Defenders is not replacing fraternals. It is the organization, it's a movement that works together with the fraternals. We, as South African Church Defenders, we are national, and we are fighting this. We are calling all the fraternals, we are calling all the church members, because this is an attack against the Christian, against the church of God. The attack against the church is not a building, the church is individual. We then therefore have to stand together and then push back this, because it is not of God and it is not South Africa we know. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson, and the media that it's present today. As South Africa Church Defenders, today it's making its voice clearly heard, and it's also clarifying some of the issues that left the community disturbed, not understanding actually what is happening. You have said quite well, Chairperson, in all the points that we have stated concerning to the CRL Commission and Section 22. There is a lot that has been said against the church. There is a lot that the Chairperson of the CRL Commission has said. Some of those issues are issues that sound provocative to the Christian community, in which South Africa Church Defenders sought very important to stand against those that are unable to speak because of not having a possibility to raise or their voice to be heard in our community. But it's also a concern when the CRL Commission will say, as we all heard on the 19th, when they were saying that there is a lot of church mushrooming, and they are curbing that by doing all those measures that are taken. They are trying to protect the community. Now the question is, which community the commission is trying to protect? Are we not part of the community as a pastors, as a church leaders, as a preachers of the gospel? Are we not part of the community? So if one will say that I'm protecting this one against this one, meaning that that caused confusion amongst the community and society at large. That tells the community that pastors are the monsters in our country. So pastors cannot be tolerated, pastors cannot be respected, pastors cannot be taken serious, because we are a threat to the very same community in which we are living in. That one, we cannot accept that. CRL Commission Chairperson says a lot insulting the Christian community. And we thought that it's very much important for the church to stand for itself. For those that are able and unable to stand for themselves, we are here as the South Africa Church Defenders. We are not a church. We are an organization that represents the church in South Africa. And we represent all sorts of community, irrespective of color, creed, or credentials. We respect the rights of the people in our churches. The issue of being said that we are abusing the community or we are abusing our church members. I was listening to one of the fellow who was speaking there. It was not the chairperson of the CRL on the 19th. But I remember that face, that I know it from the Val. It's one of the failed pastors that deems, let us just not hide that. People that are failing in the ministry are the ones that are grandstanding now to say that the church is not a safer place. It was not safer place under your under your leadership. That is understandable. That's why you have to step aside. Let those that are able to lead and preach the real gospel to the community continue to do the work. It cannot be proper to say that a one person who had failed in the ministry, then he will come and regulate me that is currently doing well in the ministry. The chairperson have quite said that the only institution in South Africa, I'm not afraid to say that, the only institution that got integrity in the country, you can check for yourself, it's only the church. It's only the church, the only institution that is credible. You need a credible leaders to lead society. Don't shy away from the church. You will find those leaders in the church to lead the community. So the issue that the church is abusing the community, it's a lie. Actually, there is no truth on it. I heard that there was talking about CSBC and others, that they are trying to protect them. There is enough laws to protect people that feel threatened in the church. As the chairperson has said, there is no special law for the pastors and the special crime or form of crime to the society. Crime, it's a crime. We are not condoning that. And they are furthermore continue to talk about the issues that we as a pastors, we are feeding grass to our members. We are doing this and that. That are the issues that are already sorted. The church has sorted that issues itself. Hence, that if you check those things when it happens, it had happened 10, 15 years back ago to our church members. Let them come forward. Because we never had those kind of people complaining about it. Others are saying that we are pushing people, we are forcing people to give in our churches where we are not accountable. That is a lie. There is no one accountable people in this country more than the church itself. So, Chairperson, Angifuni Kipikazi, you have said more than enough, and then we thank God for having you to lead this credible movement called South Africa Church Defenders. South Africa Church Defenders is here for all Christian believers. If you are there, you never knew about South Africa Church Defenders. Now you know who is South Africa Church Defender is and what we are standing for. Thank you, Chairperson.
All right. Thank you to the members of the media. Thank you also to those remarks by the servants of God. Now we are also going to hand over to our chairperson to give us a conclusion on this matter as we close our press conference session now. Thank you. Over to you, Pastor Mukuba.
Thank you very much, Pastor Masu, Apostle Mlambo, and thank you, Reverend Dingan Stole. In conclusion here, I also want to address the question which I feel like maybe it was not really fully addressed. What the chairperson of the CRL Rights Commission said with regard to the court. She said that you don't go to court and say they don't want to mix Christians and Muslims and African traditional religion and Rastafarian in one room. And she said that that's one of the things they are complaining about. And then she said, we are saying it's fine, go and convince the judge that should happen. Now, pointing that out as like it is our prayers to the court, that is misleading. I'm going to reiterate what the SACD is saying. The relief sought by SACD, declaration that the creation of the Section 22 committee was unlawful. I'm answering that so that everybody can know what is the court case, what the court case is about. And we are also going to give this, what do you call it, notice of motion to media houses so that they can have it and see what is contained there. And number two here, that all his actions are invalid. That is the Section 22 committee, and that the committee must be disbanded. That is what is on our papers, which we have also presented to Parliament, and also in our memorandum to the presidency. And SACD is also challenging the CRL Commission's confirmation to state security that labeled charismatic churches as a domestic threat. And we are talking about something that is there. Above all, SACD seeks to ensure that the constitutional rights of religious communities under sections 15, 18, and 31 of the Constitution are protected. So, in summary, I have presented what our court case is about, and this is going to be disseminated to media houses and to whoever is interested in reading what the case is about. Because when you go and you present something that is not actually the basis of the case. You create division, you create confusion. And where we are right now, what is being done by the CRL Rise Commission is creating divisions, disruptions. And now all of a sudden, there are pointing of fingers, suspicions being cast. It's a whole lot of things that are happening. And we ask ourselves that if the chairperson of the CRL is not driving the mandate of this section, of this chapter 9 institution, which is promoting and protecting these religious rights that we have, whose mandate is she driving? Whose mandate? That is the question, because we are still asking ourselves that, given the fact that around 2014, 2015, 2016, we saw, 2018, somewhere there, we saw the disruptions and the divisions, the pointing of fingers which were happening then. Are we going back there? We hear that even now, hey, we are going to go around, we are going to talk to the victims and whatever. Are we going now on a witch hunt? That is another question that we are asking. Are we going to be going on a witch hunt, looking for evidence, sort of, looking for things, more things to condemn the pastors? Is that what we are going to do? Because that will really bring problems, because we are going to see some people who are even going to be accused of even things that they haven't done. Because really, we have got competent structures, competent people to can conduct investigations. As we stand, as the CRL speaks, we can see that the CRL has got names of victims. If they have them, why are they not helping the victims? Taking the victims to the relevant structures who are supposed to provide help to these victims, so that the victims can receive justice. Because we want everybody to receive justice in our country. And we hear now, we are going to be having another section 22 for the Muslims, for these ones. Hey, I'm sure these exercises will be very costly, because really the beliefs that are in South Africa, they are many. So really there is going to be this expenditure that is targeted towards such things. We are still asking this question. A person who says, if you hear from God, you should be taken to a psychiatric ward, how fit is that person to hold an office that is say, go protect their belief that they hear from God? We are asking that question even today, and having had all those problems that we had in the previous years when the chairperson was chairperson of CRL, why are we still sitting with the same problem that we had before? And why are we still talking about things that were rejected? This push for a law, this push for regulation, state regulation of the churches, which was rejected by Parliament. Why are we still talking about that today? Why is the agenda back on the table? We are asking ourselves those questions on why are we here? We are seeing these tendencies of trying to divide people, not really promoting unity. And we are saying that this has to stop. The disorder that we are seeing now in schools, we don't want that disorder in churches. Because what is happening now, children are no longer listening to their parents. It is because of laws that were passed with us being quiet, the Bible getting removed from schools. Now there is this one which is coming now to also divide pastors from their flocks, which God has put them over them to shepherd them. We are seeing these attempts. Will we end in churches with situations that we are seeing in our schools today, where there is no meaningful learning as a result of children having excessive rights, standing against teachers and standing against their parents. We don't want to see this chaos in churches, and we are reiterating there when authority, when people who are put in authority forget that they are there to represent offices. We are not going to allow them to abuse their power. We are not going to allow them to overstep boundaries. And we are here, as the SACD is saying, we are embarking on marches. We have done there in Pretoria and in Parliament in Cape Town. And on the 12th of March, we are having another march in KZN in Durban, and we are going to continue with our right to protest, which is guaranteed to us by the Constitution, and we are also going to use the legal means, which is the courts. We are not going to leave any stone unturned. We are saying church will not die in South Africa during our time. Let each and every believer become a church defender. Thank you very much, all of you members of the media. We appreciate your time. Amen. All right, I'm advised here that I should introduce the SACD platforms. We are on the website, that is southafricanchurchdefender.org. Pastor Masringa, I'm putting it right. South African Church Defenders.org. SAChurchdefenders.org. All right, that is the right one there on your screen. And we are also on Facebook, which is South African Church Defenders Facebook page. And we are also on TikTok, SA Church Defender. And also on YouTube, South African Church Defenders. And even phone numbers are there. You can be able to contact us. And if you need more information, and we have got articles on YouTube, which you can read and familiarize yourself with whatever that is going on in the country. As a Christian, as a child of God, you are told to earnestly contend for your faith. Let us do this together. The church is united. The church is rising. Amen.
declaring that the church in South Africa is rising. We are declaring that the church in Kayenza in Midway, in the church of Jesus is rising.